When the idea for Dig VR came about, it was really important that music played a major part.
You know, when you want to get babies to sleep, you put on white noise. When you want to get work done, you put on music that's going to drive you and keep you going.
I was at the office one night and Leo basically approached me and said, there's a secret game, come in, we need some music made. And he just said, you know, do you want to do it? And then I was sort of like, held my cool, didn't I?
You styled out.
And then spent the next 12 days writing like 26 pages of ideas.
It was like a thesis. Yeah. You done a review. It was a good report. What's important in Dig VR is that we have a world for the player to get to know and play in. So it made sense to have an actual radio to accompany the actual game. There had to be variety as well, and really every sort of channel had to have this zen-like, zone-like, trance-like element to it. And we've had the chance in the past to work with incredibly talented musicians, with working with Kieran Pepper on Arcade Paradise, and we sort of wanted to start that conversation once again.
Telling me not to give up just yet.
So finding the people to work with on this was quite easy, because working with Matt and Leo on Arcade Paradise, we work with loads of different people, and generally the people that you work with, there's a good energy coming from them, and you know they can get the job done really quickly. People like Aisha Vaughan, who's like a long-standing friend of mine, her voice is incredible, and we work together on Tin Heart. And with the Arcade Paradise stuff, I work with a guy called Stu Brutal, who's like a rapper, really good friend of mine. And so when we needed to bring that kind of energy, you know, we brought like a Limp Bizkit kind of vibe to one of the tracks, then he's my go-to person to contact.
Wait a minute now, what you gonna find out?
Originally, the brief was a number of different radio stations for the game, some of which would probably suit my sort of skill set, others which would maybe benefit from me being involved in the mixing side. And I think primarily because I was classically trained, I would probably be of use on stations like the Classical.
The team was huge. There was over 50 people involved, from composers, producers, writers.
One of the favourite tracks that I was involved with wasn't totally my composition, it was working with Fari, who's a Zimbabwean artist. I put it out to her because obviously we needed authentic world music, and her heritage coming from Zimbabwe. We talked about the idea of digging and the lyrics about, you know, moving the earth and all that kind of stuff, and she had them translated, and that track, the authenticity within it and what Fari brought to that track I really love, and that's probably one of my favourites.
This all comes together in the world building. You sort of believe that these tracks exist, and you've got plenty to choose from classical to indie to sort of music of all the ages, or even if you really want to take it to a different level, ASMR whilst digging away.
So the ASMR station was a station primarily involving textual sounds, sounds that people will find relaxing. Certain sounds will kind of be almost sleep-inducing. In fact, I nearly fell asleep whilst writing half the tracks.
Dig FM's the main channel. It's just got a variety of tracks ranging from sort of really cheesy rock.
I will never stop until I make it to the top. I've got my eyes on the prize.
But the important thing with every song, actually, the brief on every song, was metaphorical or literal, but building, whether you're building and constructing and creating and digging, and whether digging means, you know, you're literally digging with a machine, or you're digging because you're finding your way through life, or whatever it is. But each song has a really important message.
Work all day and through the night, early birds and catch a flight, burning candles at both ends. It's always been your thing.
Because of the nature of the process and the time constraints and the deadlines we have, obviously part of the job was sourcing people, finding people to do it, but often it was quicker to get it done myself. If we're looking at like the Britpop kind of thing, the immediate go-to for myself, being from Essex, was Blur. So one of those tracks, I thought, I'm just going to do this, smash it out, and I did the vocals.
Of the tracks I wrote and produced, obviously I would be primarily working with Matt on those. If there were tracks that were being produced by other writers and producers, then they would be effectively going through Matt before coming to me, and then the mixing process would be a collaboration between me and the artists or the composers. But for me, it was great because it was never a dull moment. It wasn't like working on 40 tracks of the same genre. There was all kinds of different feels.
The initial brief was a chill house, Cafe Del Mar leaning style music, which was kind of down tempo, relaxation, but slight party environment kind of thing. The music has kind of like a one-tone feel to it. So it's hard to make each track sound different. So changing the instrumentation was a good way of making other tracks standing out. Obviously, harmonically, I changed them as well, but I just tried to achieve something quite fun for each one. I wanted some kind of instrument to be the highlight of each track.
My side job really, or my main job really, is arts development at Waterbear College of Music, and so working with those guys, particularly for the Drumstep Revolution station, which is the liquid drum and bass, I was able to put the brief together and very quickly come back with people that had really exciting ideas for this.
Creating these radio stations from scratch becomes an incredible creative process where they're being made in the background. You sort of get delivered a sort of near final package, and then it's been my job to sort of make sure it worked with the game and that the developers were actually on board with the styles as well. There was this one moment where Matt got me and said, "I've got something to show you," to a meeting room, and he played me a little bit of rock and roll for the first time.
I was watching him as he was listening to it to see if he was happy with it or not.
One of those moments when you just grin and you just can't believe that it's not a song already.
When you hear a song or you create a song, you're like, not just is that in the game, that's the trailer. That's the main song.
We can make it on our own, 'cause all we need is a little bit of rock and roll.
So then the final stage of the music side of things was a day spent at Fluid Mastering with Tim Debney, and effectively what we're doing is we're getting everything lined up so that it's all consistent, sounds as good as it can be, making it sort of nice and loud and ready, for the end product.
Just don't give up on yourself, no, don't give up on yourself.
Obviously on the Dig FM music, you've got pretty much almost 13 different styles of music on there. So it was really trying to gain consistency across all the tracks, but keeping the original vibe of each track. You don't want to ruin one track. You don't want to force it to sound like another track for the sake of consistency, but obviously at the same time, they have all got to work together. Certainly their loudnesses have all got to be pretty much matched. You tend to allow each track to do what it's doing, but again, control any rogue frequencies or add a bit of warmth, add a bit of brightness, add a bit of bass if it's a bit light.
Personally, the hardest job for me was having to turn away music that was great for whatever reason. It was rare that we'd ever get music that just wasn't good enough. That was never the case. It was always, was it right?
The thing that I've really taken away from this project is the growing trust and the teamwork that we're building, from Arcade Paradise to Tin Hearts to Dig VR. It's the community that we're building, not just as the creators of music to serve the games, but the new talent that's coming through.
It's incredible to see the game come out at such a good quality level, beyond expectations. Everything about it, everything from the game itself, to the art, to the videos, to the music, and everything associated with the whole game, is actually way above what I expected it to be.